Imagine you're standing in this old Russian railway station, and the air is just incredibly thick, heavy with that sharp sort of metallic smell of hot iron.
Oh, yeah. And all that choking dark soot from the locomotive smoke everywhere.
Exactly. And all around you, there's this sound of heavy luggage just scraping across rough stone floors, echoing through this massive cavernous space.
Right. It's absolute chaos.
Yeah, people are rushing, colliding, completely absorbed in the frantic machinery of travel. But right in the middle of all this chaos, time just seems to stop.
Like a freeze frame.
Yes, because two old childhood friends lock eyes across the platform. And it is, at first glance anyway, this really beautiful, heartwarming scene.
Two guys separated by years, suddenly finding each other in a crowd.
Right, they embrace, they weep, they laugh. But then this single, seemingly innocent question is asked. And that one question completely shatters the illusion.
It really does. It exposes the absolute darkest, most fragile parts of human nature.
And that is our mission for this deep dive today. We are exploring Anton Chekhov's classic short story, Fat and Thin. But we're not just recapping a 19th century story, right?
No, not at all. We are conducting a profound philosophical analysis of the human condition itself.
Which is a big undertaking, I know.
It is, but we have to unpack the invisible architecture of power, the tragedy of social hierarchies, and, frankly, the terrifying reality of self-subjugation.
Yeah, because this isn't about someone being forced at gunpoint. It's a mirror reflecting how anyone, anywhere, can just voluntarily surrender their humanity to the mere idea of authority.
Precisely. It's deeply psychological.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The encounter at the Nikolaevsky railway station begins with this incredible sensory portrait.
Oh, the sensory details are brilliant. Chekhov establishes the entire social ecosystem before a single word is spoken.
Right, so we have these two men. One is simply referred to as the fat man, whose name we find out is Misha, and the other is the thin man, Porfiry. Let's look at Misha first.
Okay, the fat man.
Yeah, he has just dined at the station. And, I mean, his lips are literally shining with grease. The text actually compares them to ripe cherries.
Ripe cherries, yeah. It's such a visceral image of consumption.
It really is. And he exudes this rich, intoxicating scent. He smells of fine sherry and something called fleur d'orange, which is like this sweet orange blossom or maybe expensive pastries.
And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have Porfiry, the thin man. He stands in stark, almost brutal contrast to Misha.
Brutal is the right word. He hasn't been, dining leisurely.
No, he's just stepped off the train, and he is physically weighed down. He's totally encumbered by boxes, bundles, bags.
Just drowning in luggage.
Right. And his scent is entirely different. He smells of ham and cheap coffee grounds.
Wow. Ham and cheap coffee.
Yeah. And his face is tired. His eyes carry this history of waiting and submission. The smell and physical bearing of these two men dictate their exact places in the world instantly.
It's just a vivid juxtaposition. It's like, think about walking through an airport today.
Yeah, well, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, you have someone casually strolling out of a first-class lounge, smelling of expensive cologne and roasted nuts, completely unburdened, just holding a little smartphone.
Right, totally relaxed.
And then you have someone sprinting out of economy class, sweating, clutching a lukewarm, terrible airport coffee, just dragging 3 broken suitcases.
Yeah, exactly. But it goes deeper than just who has more money, right? It's about how the world physically wears on the body.
The thin man is carrying the world, literally. And the fat man has the world served to him.
Yes, the physical descriptions foreshadow the philosophical core here. The thin man is already burdened.
Right.
He's literally weighed down by his luggage, which is a profound metaphor for his psychological baggage and his place in society.
It's like he's defined by utility.
Exactly. Utility struggle, the sheer effort of existing, that smell of ham and cheap coffee grounds, those are the sense of necessity, of scraping by.
A life lived in the margins of survival.
But the fat man, his physical state, implies this frictionless movement through society. When you possess ultimate power or wealth, you don't carry your own bags.
Right, you don't smell like the labor required to feed yourself.
Exactly. The sherry and sweet orange blossom are consumables of pleasure, not survival. His shiny cherry lips project an image of someone perpetually consuming the best parts of life.
And the railway station itself is such a fascinating setting for this to happen.
It's a liminal space.
Yeah, a transitional zone where all these classes kind of intersect.
Yeah.
They're standing on the exact same physical floorboards, but they inhabit completely different universes of sensory experience.
Completely different realities.
But what's wild is, despite these glaring differences, when they first see each other, none of that seems to matter.
No, not at all.
They recognize each other and just erupt into genuine, unadulterated joy. I mean, they exchange 3 kisses, their eyes well up with tears.
The text calls it a pleasant state of delicious days.
A pleasant state of delicious days. That is such a specific phrase.
It is a vital phrase to hold on to, actually, because it bookends this entire narrative, though its meaning is going to shift radically by the end.
I bet. But right now, in this moment, the joy is entirely authentic, right?
Yes. They are looking past the shiny cherry lips, past the heavy bundles. They are looking at the essence of who they were to one another.
They even start throwing out their childhood nicknames. Like the fat man, Misha, was called Herostratus,
Right, because he once burned a school book with a cigarette.
which is so funny. And the thin man, Porphyry, was Ephialtes, because he loved to gossip and cattle.
Those names are incredibly revealing when you think about it.
How so?
Well, they show that as kids, they were messy, flawed, equal human beings. They weren't defined by their societal value or their bank accounts.
Right, they were defined by being kind of annoying kids.
Exactly. Rebelliousness and moral weakness. For this fleeting moment on the train platform, the entire rigid structure of social hierarchy is suspended by the pure joy of human connection.
It's literally like time travel for them.
It is. It represents this era before ranks. In childhood, they were equals. This reunion strips away the adult masks momentarily.
They aren't a wealthy man and a struggling man. They're just Herostratus and Ephialtes.
Yes, a moment of profound equality.
But, here's where it gets really interesting for me. I struggle to see this nostalgic reunion as purely positive.
Oh, why is that?
It almost feels like a trap. Like, does the absolute purity of this childhood reunion actually make the inevitable return to reality much more violent?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it feels like nostalgia is acting as a temporary anesthesia here. They are feeling no pain, no social pressure, but the drugs are going to wear off.
That's a brilliant way to put it. The anesthesia wearing off is the exact mechanism of the tragedy in this story.
So it is a trap.
Nostalgia here isn't just a trap, it is the sheer cliff face from which the thin man is about to fall. Think about it. The purity of the reunion creates a baseline of absolute equality.
Right, they are brothers in memory.
Exactly. If they had just met as strangers, the interaction would have been mundane, governed by standard social protocols of the era.
They would have just nodded and kept walking.
But because they meet as equals, the reintroduction of social hierarchy is going to feel like an act of profound betrayal.
Yeah.
The transition from the freedom of childhood memory back into the rigid cage of adult reality is triggered by the most mundane thing possible, catching up.
Right. They established who they were, so now they have to establish who they are.
Exactly.
So Porphyry starts volunteering his life updates first, and he paints a picture of a life that is just a relentless grind.
He really
He introduces his family. His wife, Louisa, who he explicitly mentions, is a Protestant from the Vansenbach family, noting she has a long chin.
Very specific details.
And his son, Nathanael, who's this tall, squinting third grader. Then Porphyry lists his own accomplishments. He tells Misha he's a collegiate assessor.
Right, the 8th rank.
Yeah, making a poor salary. He mentions his wife has to give music lessons to help them scrape by. But here is the craziest detail to me. He tells Misha that to survive, he privately carves wooden cigarette cases.
Wooden boxes, yeah.
And he sells them for 1 ruble each. And he adds, with this weird apparent pride, that if someone buys 10 or more, he gives them a discount.
It's so sad.
It really is. He's a grown man, a government official, boasting about a bulk discount on hand-carved wooden boxes just to make ends meet.
It's the desperate hustle of a man barely treading water. And the details of his survival are critical philosophically. It's not just that he's poor, it's the specific exhausting nature of his poverty.
Right.
His hyperfixation on that meager discount reveals a mind that has been completely enclosed by the struggle for microeconomics.
His entire worldview has literally shrunk to the size of a wooden cigarette case.
Exactly. Even his pride in his wife's lineage, mentioning twice that she's a von Senbach and a Protestant, shows a man desperately clinging to any tiny scrap of social prestige.
Because his reality is otherwise just totally devoid of it. He uses her family name like a shield.
He has to. He has nothing else.
So, after laying all this out, his struggles, his wooden boxes, his squinting son, the thin man turns to his old friend Misha and asks the fatal question. He asks about his rank.
The catalyst for metamorphosis.
Yeah. Porphyry assumes, based on his own slow, painful crawl up the ladder, that maybe Misha has made it to state councilor.
And then the fat man casually, without any malice or boastfulness, reveals the truth. He is not a state councilor, he is a privy councilor.
Which is a huge deal.
Oh, to understand the gravity of this, you really have to look at the socio-political architecture of 19th century Russia. This society operated under the Tsar's table of ranks.
Right, created by Peter the Great, I believe.
Yes, and it wasn't merely a corporate organizational chart, it was a rigid, state-enforced hierarchy of 14 ranks that dictated your entire existence.
Wow, like everything about your life.
Everything. It determined how you were addressed, who you had to bow to, what kind of carriage you could ride in, even what materials your clothes could be made of.
So it was an inescapable numbering of human worth.
Precisely. Now, Porphyry is a collegiate assessor, that's the 8th rank, the absolute bottom rung of hereditary nobility.
Basically clerks.
Yes, men who spend their lives copying documents and, well, carving wooden doxes to survive. It's a life of invisible, grinding mediocrity.
And Misha, on the other hand, is a privy councilor.
The 2nd rank in the entire empire, equivalent to a full military general. He possesses 2 stars.
So the gap between them isn't just a difference in salary, it is this massive chasm of human classification.
A privy councilor wielded immense life-altering power, operating directly beneath the Tsar's inner circle.
It's wild because words themselves are not physical weapons, right? Like, you cannot be literally cut by the phrase privy councilor. It's just air vibrating from his vocal cords. Yet that simple piece of information acts as an existential wrecking ball. The fat man wasn't bragging. He wasn't trying to crush his friend.
No, he was simply stating a factual reality about his employment.
But the information contained within those words demolishes that equalizing field of nostalgia we talked about.
It proves that reality isn't just what is physically in front of us. Porphyry is looking at the exact same physical man.
Right. Misha hasn't pulled out a sword or suddenly grown 10 feet tall. He's still just Misha with the shiny lips.
But the idea of Misha has mutated. And the thin man's reaction to this information is not just mental or emotional, it's violently physical.
Yeah, it really is.
We are witnessing the somatic response to a social hierarchy.
The physiological reaction is terrifying. The moment Porphyry hears the words privy councilor, he turns pale. He literally freezes.
Completely paralyzed.
And then suddenly, his face contorts into this grotesquely wide smile. The text actually says it looked as though sparks were flying from his face and eyes.
It's such a disturbing image.
And then he physically shrinks. He hunches over. He narrows.
Shrinks, hunches, narrows. This is not awkwardness. This isn't mere embarrassment that his friend is more successful.
No, it's way beyond that.
This is the physical manifestation of class panic and total psychological collapse. His body is betraying the illusion of equality.
Because we internalize the structures of power so deeply, right?
Exactly. They bypass our rational thought entirely and embed themselves in our very biology.
It's like a survival mechanism rooted in pure muscle memory. I was thinking about this, and it's like an animal making itself physically smaller to avoid a predator.
Oh, that's a chilling analogy, but very accurate.
Like a dog that was abused as a puppy, you know?
Yeah.
Years later, even in a totally safe environment, if someone raises a hand just to stretch, the dog will instinctively flinch and cower.
Because the nervous system remembers the violence of the past.
Yes. Porphyry's nervous system is doing the exact same thing in response to the table of ranks. His spine remembers the rules of power.
His posture is dictated by a lifetime of systemic conditioning. But Chekhov pushes this even further into the realm of the absurd, really. It isn't just the thin man who shrinks.
Right, the environment itself responds to the gravity of the hierarchy. Even Porphyry's cardboard boxes, his bundles, and his bags seem to shrink and wrinkle.
Which is impossible, obviously.
And his wife's long chin appears to grow even longer. And the son, Nathaniel, who's just hiding behind his dad a minute ago, suddenly snaps to rigid attention and buttons up every single button on his school uniform.
A cardboard box obviously cannot physically shrink in the presence of a general, but Porphyry's subjective reality is warping.
He's suddenly looking at his own life through the lens of pure, crushing inferiority.
The boxes look smaller because he suddenly feels how pathetic his meager possessions are compared to Misha's power.
And the wife's chin looks longer because all her flaws are magnified in the harsh, unforgiving light of Misha's success.
Exactly. And the son buttoning his uniform, that demonstrates the intergenerational transmission of this bodily subjugation.
Wow, yeah, the kid is learning it in real time.
The boy likely doesn't fully comprehend the political nuances of a privy councilor, but he senses the absolute collapse of his father's authority. He immediately adopts the physical posture of a subordinate.
Learning the architecture of the mind's prison.
Yes, and that architecture dictates entirely new rules of engagement. Porfiry completely changes how he speaks.
Oh, his speech changes instantly. He immediately stops calling him Misha. He starts using Your Excellency.
The formal title.
He stutters. He throws in this awful sycophantic he giggle. He tells Misha that His Excellency's attention is like a healing balm.
It's deeply uncomfortable to read, but the crucial observation here is that the fat man demanded absolutely nothing.
Right, he didn't do anything.
He did not impose his authority. He did not ask to be called Your Excellency. He didn't command the thin man to bow or scrape.
So what does this all mean?
It means authority and power, as portrayed here, are not always commands shouted from above by a tyrant. They are invisible frameworks that colonize weak minds.
The thin man was not humiliated by his friend. The profound tragedy is that the thin man humiliated himself.
He built his own cage, locked himself inside, and handed the keys to a man who didn't even want them.
But why does Porfiry do this? I mean, Misha isn't threatening him. It almost feels like a defense mechanism. Is Porfiry choosing to play the victim because it's easier than facing his own mediocrity?
That is a very perceptive question.
Because if he maintains the illusion of equality, he has to reckon with the fact that they started in the same schoolyard and Misha became a titan while Porfiry became a failure.
That cognitive dissonance is exactly the engine of his subjugation. When the thin man hears the rank privy councillor, he doesn't just see his friend Misha.
What does he see?
He remembers every closed door in his life. He remembers every social ladder he couldn't climb, every humiliation he suffered while trying to sell his wooden cigarette cases.
He's projecting.
He takes the entire crushing, monolithic weight of the Russian social hierarchy and projects all of it onto his childhood friend.
Wow. So he sacrifices years of genuine, innocent friendship under the shoe of fear.
Because it is easier for his mind to submit utterly than to try and reconcile the childhood friend with the two-star general. He chooses the safety of the hierarchy over the vulnerability of true equality.
The safety of knowing your place, even if your place is at the absolute bottom.
Right.
Because if you are worthless and the other person is a god, the world makes sense, right? The system is to blame. But if you are equals, the world is chaotic and your failures are your own.
It is a terrifying psychological defense mechanism.
But the thing is, Misha is not enjoying this at all. He is physically repulsed. He frowns. He actively tries to stop it.
He does. He says, "What is this tone for? We are childhood friends. Why this worship of titles?"
He's begging him to be normal.
He is pleading for normalcy, but he cannot force Porfiry to be normal. Looking at the thin man's face, which is now dripping with saccharine sweetness, reverence, and what the text brilliantly calls respectful sourness.
Oh, respectful sourness. That is such an amazing phrase.
It really is. And looking at that face, the fat man feels utterly nauseated.
It's like an image of spoiled milk mixed with honey. It's forced, it's fake, and it's deeply unsettling.
It induces physical nausea in the fat man because it represents the death of authenticity.
Right.
He exists in a world where everyone bows to him, where everyone calls him Your Excellency, where every interaction is transactional and governed by his two stars.
So this railway station reunion was a momentary escape for him.
Exactly. He wanted to shed his rank, but the thin man violently forces him back into the role of general.
Which is an incredible irony. The thin man thinks he's showing the utmost respect. He thinks he's honoring his friend.
But in reality,
he is entirely dehumanizing the fat man. He is stripping Misha of his humanity, his memories, his personality, and turning him into an inanimate object.
He turns him into a walking, talking rank.
Yeah.
To be worshipped is to be objectified. The fat man is no longer a person to Porfiry. He is a dispensing machine for favor and authority.
That reveals such a profound isolation at the top of any hierarchy.
It's incredibly lonely. When you possess ultimate status, genuine connection becomes nearly impossible because the gravitational pull of your power distorts the behavior of everyone around you.
You never know if someone actually likes you, or if they just revere the stars on your shoulder.
Exactly.
And Misha finally finds someone who knew him before the stars. And even that guy immediately starts groveling.
It's tragic. The fat man realizes the friendship is completely, irreversibly dead. The boy he knew, Ephialtes, is gone, replaced by a sniveling collegiate assessor.
So he turns away and offers his hand in a gesture of farewell.
The fat man leaves because, as the philosophy of this moment dictates, dignity cannot be discussed with someone who has lost it.
Wow. Say that again.
Dignity cannot be discussed with someone who has lost it. You cannot debate someone into standing up straight if their soul has already decided to crawl.
Equality has to be claimed.
And Porphyry has abandoned his claim.
That total loss of dignity is what makes their final goodbye so physically uncomfortable to watch. I mean, think about how a normal handshake works.
It's palm to palm.
Right, equal pressure. It's a physical manifestation of mutual respect. But when Misha offers his hand, Porphyry doesn't shake his full hand. He takes only 3 fingers.
Just 3 fingers.
He doesn't feel worthy of making contact with the whole palm of a privy councillor.
It's a devastating physical symbol. The 3-fingered handshake is the ultimate manifestation of the thin man believing he is literally unworthy of full, equal human contact.
He is diminishing his own physical presence to the absolute minimum.
He bows with his entire body, giggling in this manner described as a Chinese stereotype, which is an image from the era meant to convey absolute cartoonish subservience, entirely devoid of individual dignity.
And the rest of the family joins in this grotesque performance too.
Yeah.
The wife, Louisa, smiles this rigid, unnatural smile.
In the sun.
Yeah, Nathaniel scrapes his foot so hard in this weird military-style salute that he actually drops his cap. They're all erased as individuals, functioning only as props in a display of unquestioning deference.
The choreography of the disenfranchised. And the story ends with a phrase that echoes the very beginning, but in the most twisted way possible.
Oh, right.
All 3 of them, the thin man, his wife, and his son, are left in a pleasant state of delicious daze.
The return of the delicious days. But at the beginning, the daze was the shock of pure joy and equal friendship. Now the friendship is dead.
So why is it pleasant?
Exactly. Why on earth would this humiliating, subservient display result in a pleasant state? Is there a twisted comfort in knowing your exact lowly place in the hierarchy rather than dealing with the messy equality of true friendship?
Yes, because freedom and equality are exhausting.
They are.
They require you to stand on your own 2 feet, to assess your own worth, and to look another human being directly in the eye, regardless of their wealth or status.
Submission is a relief.
It removes the burden of self-determination. The thin man and his family are in a delicious daze because the world makes sense again. The hierarchy is
The
reestablished.
general is above, the assessor is below.
And the terrifying ambiguity of the railway station reunion has been safely categorized. They have traded their dignity for the warm, narcotic comfort of knowing exactly how small they are.
The comfort of the prison you know over the freedom you don't. It's just staggering. We started with 2 equals, Herostratus and Ephialtes, locked in a joyous embrace. And we end with a horrifying, silent display of self-imposed slavery.
It really proves that the heaviest, most unbreakable chains we wear are not forged by the state or by tyrants.
We forged them ourselves.
Yeah.
And we put them on voluntarily.
And it's important to remember that while we have been discussing 19th century Russia and the Tsarist table of ranks, this dynamic is entirely universal.
It's not just history.
No, the mechanics of power and self-subjugation operate the exact same way today. It happens when someone fundamentally changes their voice, their posture, or their personal truth when they find themselves in the presence of perceived status.
Whether that status is a billionaire CEO, a political figure, or some influential socialite.
The internal collapse is identical.
It's the exact same human flaw, just wearing different clothes. So think about your own life. Think about the rooms you walk into.
What happens when you meet someone powerful?
Right. When you interact with someone who is objectively more successful than you, someone richer, someone more powerful, do your suitcases start to shrink?
Do you find yourself adopting that 3-fingered handshake?
Minimizing your own existence to make room for their perceived greatness. The next time you find yourself metaphorically or even physically bowing to a title, you have to ask yourself, are they actually demanding your submission, or are you just handing over your dignity for free?